Her baby was taking his debt payment until a mountain man rode into town at noon. The noon sun glared over the Montana town of Red Bank, turning its single dirt road into a ribbon of shimmering heat. Clara Hale stood at the edge of the street with her hands gripping the porch rail of the old general store, her knuckles pale, her breath shaky. She had barely slept, barely spoken, barely even moved since the moment her world had been ripped apart the night before. Her arms felt too light, too empty, as if her bones themselves mourned the absence of her child. Every sound in the street, the creak of wagon wheels, the stomp of boots, the laughter drifting from the saloon seemed unbearably normal for a world that had suddenly turned cruel, beyond measure. Her baby was gone, taken from her like property, like payment, like something owed rather than someone loved. Clara's mind replayed the scene over and over again, as if the memory itself were determined to wound her until she broke. She had been feeding little Samuel his evening bottle, humming the lullaby her mother used to hum, when she heard boots crunching outside her cabin door. She knew the sound before she opened it. Everyone knew Jameson Briggs's boots, heavy, spurred, polished daily by a hired hand. They were the boots of a man who believed the whole valley bowed under his weight. Briggs had appeared with 2 ranch hands and a ledger book tucked under his arm. The moment Clara saw that ledger, dread clawed up her spine. Her late husband had owed Briggs money, everyone knew that. But Clara had always believed she'd pay it off over time. She cooked for neighbors, mended clothes, washed linens. Every coin she earned went to Briggs. She thought that meant something. She thought effort and honesty still mattered in the world. But Briggs didn't believe in fairness. He believed in advantage. "Debt's overdue, Clara," he'd said with a voice void of pity. His mustache twitched with disapproval when he stepped into her cabin, eyes sweeping across her meager belongings like they were trash cluttering his land. "I'm trying," Clara had whispered. "I'm doing everything I can. You'll get every cent. That's the problem." He opened the ledger, tapped the paper. "You're late, and I'm tired of waiting." She remembered shaking her head, clutching Samuel closer, instinct telling her something terrible was coming. "Please, Mr. Briggs, don't do anything drastic." He smiled, a tight, sharp smile. "Nothing drastic at all. Just business. You work for me at the ranch until the debt is cleared, but the boy stays with me until then. Collateral." Clara had felt the world drop from beneath her feet. "No," she whispered, stepping back with Samuel. "No, please. Not my baby. He's all I have." Briggs's eyes hardened. He made a hand signal. His men stepped forward. Clara screamed. She fought like a mother fights, wild, desperate, without thought or hesitation, but their hands were stronger. They pried Samuel from her arms while she kicked, and clawed until her fingernails, bent backward in pain, shot through her ribs. Samuel cried, reaching for her with tiny trembling hands. The sound tore through the cabin like a dying thing. Clara begged, pleaded, dropped to her knees, but Briggs didn't even flinch. He simply watched as one of the men wrapped Samuel in the yellow blanket Clara had sewn herself. Then they left, just like that. The wagon rolled away into the darkness, and Clara crawled after it until she collapsed on the dirt road, choking on her own sobs, the yellow blanket disappearing into the night. Now standing in town the next morning, she felt like a ghost drifting through a world that had no place for her. People glanced at her with pity she neither wanted nor asked for, but no one dared challenge Briggs. The sheriff had shrugged when she went to him. "He's within his rights," he'd muttered, refusing to meet her eyes. "Collateral is collateral. Ain't nothing I can do. Nothing." That single word hollowed her out. Clara stepped off the porch, feeling the dust swirl around her boots as she walked aimlessly through town, unsure where to go, unsure what to do. Every instinct screamed that she needed to reach her baby. But every door she had knocked on had closed on her fear. Then the rhythm of hoofbeats echoed across the street. Slow, heavy, unmistakable. The town quieted as if someone had pressed a hand over its mouth. The saloon doors stopped swinging. A deck of cards froze midair in a gambler's hand. Even the blacksmith's hammer paused mid-swing. Clara turned. A man on a massive dark horse approached, cutting through the shimmering heat like a shadow from another world. He was taller than most men even while seated, his shoulders broad beneath a rough fur coat. A thick, untrimmed beard framed a stern jaw, and his eyes were sharp and steady beneath the brim of a weather-worn hat. He carried an axe strapped to one side of his saddle and a long rifle on the other. But it wasn't the weapons that silenced the town. It was his aura. He looked like he belonged to the mountains carved from stone in winter storms. Rowan Pike. Clara had heard the name whispered in trading posts. A man who lived high in the ridges, alone, after losing a wife to something no one spoke of. A man who had fought off wolves with nothing but a knife. A man who kept to himself and expected others to do the same. Yet today he rode straight into Red Bank as though something had pulled him down from the wilderness. He saw her. His gaze locked onto Clara, lingering, not in judgment but in recognition, like he knew her pain even though she had never met him. The connection startled her. No man had ever looked at her that way, not even her husband. Rowan drew closer, reining in his horse in front of her. His voice, when he spoke, rolled like distant thunder. "You're Clara Hale." She nodded stiffly, unsure how he even knew her name. "I heard what happened," he said. Her throat tightened, a raw ache rising. "Everyone's talking," she whispered. Bitterly. "Not talking," Rowan corrected softly. "Ashamed." She blinked in confusion. Rowan's eyes searched hers. A town that calls itself civilized shouldn't allow a man to take a child as payment. Clara's lips trembled. "The sheriff said there's nothing to be done." "The sheriff is afraid of Briggs." Clara swallowed hard. "And you're not?" Rowan didn't blink. "I don't fear men who hide behind ledgers." Her breath stuttered. Why did you come?" Something flickered across his expression. Pain, old and buried, but not gone. "Once," he said quietly, "I had something taken from me. I couldn't stop it. Couldn't fight it." His jaw tightened. "I won't watch another helpless soul lose what they love." Wind whipped across the street, carrying dust between them. Clara whispered, "What are you going to do?" Rowan straightened his posture, turning his head toward the distant hills where Briggs's ranch stood like a fortress. "At noon," he said, voice iron hard, "I ride up there." Her heart lurched painfully. "You'll be killed," she choked. "Briggs has men, guns. He doesn't forgive being challenged." Rowan nudged his horse forward. "He'll answer for what he took." Clara reached for his arm without thinking, her fingers trembling. "Please, don't do this because of me." Rowan's gaze softened, just a fraction. "I'm not doing it for you, Clara. I'm doing it because someone should have done it long ago." The town clock began to chime. 12 clear notes. Rowan turned his horse toward Briggs's land. And Clara realized the mountain man wasn't just passing through. He was riding into a war for her child. Rowan Pike rode out of Red Bank as the last chime of noon faded into the wind. Clara watched him until he became a dark silhouette against the pale hills, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and terror. The mountain man didn't look back even once. He rode like someone who had already made peace with whatever awaited him on the other side of the ridge. Death, violence, justice, or all three. Clara tried to pray, but her breath kept catching. Her hands shook. She had no weapon, no allies, nothing but desperation urging her forward. After a long moment, she lifted her skirts and began walking quickly down the road after him. She couldn't stay in town, not while her baby was out there. The further Rowan rode from town, the quieter the world became. The noise of civilization faded behind him until only the wind, the creak of saddle leather, and the steady breath of his horse remained. The land stretched wide and open, golden grass waving in sheets under the sun. But Rowan wasn't admiring the scenery. His jaw was locked, his eyes fixed ahead, his mind dark with memory. He remembered another child, his own daughter, taken by illness. So quickly he hadn't been able to get help in time. He remembered holding her small, fevered body in a storm that no doctor dared cross. He remembered burying her beneath a cedar tree and carving her name into the bark with his own knife. Loss had taught him to fear nothing because nothing left to lose meant nothing, left to surrender. So when he heard that a man like Briggs had taken a baby from a mother who had already lost too much, something in him snapped, quietly, like a bone breaking under cold pressure. The trail to the Briggs ranch cut through a narrow canyon before widening into rolling pasture land. Rowan's horse snorted as they approached the ridge. On the far side, the ranch sprawled across the valley like a small kingdom. Fences, barns, cattle pens, bunkhouses, all built with money and arrogance. The ranch house sat on a rise overlooking it all, its windows dark and watchful, like eyes waiting for trouble. Rowan didn't slow. Fear wasn't a language he spoke anymore. One of Briggs's men spotted him first. The ranch hand was sitting on a fence chewing tobacco, lazily watching the herd when he straightened suddenly and squinted. His posture stiffened. Rowan saw the moment recognition hit him. The rider with the fur coat. The heavy rifle, the dead man's stare. The cowboy swallowed and scrambled off the fence, running toward the main house. The alarm spread like wildfire. Doors slammed. Men shouted. Horses whinnied in the corral. By the time Rowan reached the center of the yard, at least 6 armed cowboys were spreading out, forming a loose circle around him. Rowan halted, sitting tall and silent, his rifle still untouched across his saddle. "State your business." One of the guards shouted, voice shaking despite his bravado. Rowan didn't answer. The silence unsettled them more than any threat would have. From the porch of the large house, Jameson Briggs appeared, smug and confident as ever. He walked with the slow swagger of a man who believed the land itself bowed beneath him. His hat was tilted low and his fancy vest glinted with silver buttons. He surveyed Rowan with a smile of amused disbelief, like someone watching an animal wander into a trap. "Well, I'll be damned," Briggs drawled. Rowan Pike, the mountain hermit himself. "What brings you down from your little kingdom of rocks and trees?" Rowan finally slid off his horse. His boots hit the ground with a heavy thud. "You took something that wasn't yours," Rowan said quietly. Briggs's smile widened. "Oh? And what business is that of yours?" Rowan took one slow step forward. The cowboys tightened their circle, hands twitching near their triggers. "A child," Rowan said. "An infant. 8 months old." Briggs shrugged, pretending boredom. "I took collateral. Perfectly legal." Rowan's eyes narrowed. "The law isn't why you did it. You did it because no one's ever stopped you." Briggs barked out a laugh. "Stopped me? Son, you must be confused. This is my land. I'm in my rules. And Clara Hale owes me money. You're not keeping her child." Briggs's amusement cooled. He stepped closer until only a few yards separated them. "And if I do? What are you planning to do about it? You think you can ride in here alone and scare me?" Rowan didn't blink. "I didn't come to scare you." For a moment no one moved, no one breathed. The air tightened like a rope stretching to its breaking point. Then Briggs snapped his fingers. 2 men hauled a small bundle onto the porch. Clara's yellow blanket. Rowan's jaw clenched. Samuel's cry carried faintly, tired, scared, confused. The sound sliced through Rowan like a blade. Briggs leaned lazily against the porch rail. "Cute kid, really? Might put him to work early. Teach him how to earn his keep." Rowan's hand dropped to the handle of his axe. Briggs saw it and smirked. "You gonna chop your way through 12 armed men, Pike?" "No," Rowan said. "Just you. A gun cocked somewhere." Another. Metal clicked as men steadied their rifles. Rowan didn't flinch. Before Briggs could respond, the sound of running footsteps echoed across the yard. Rowan, stop!" Clara stumbled through the gate, sweat-soaked, breathless, tears streaking down her dust-covered face. She had run the entire way. The sight of her only enraged Briggs. "What the hell is she doing here?" he snapped. Clara pushed through the line of men, ignoring their shouts. She stood between Rowan and Briggs, trembling like a leaf caught in a storm. "Please," she begged, voice raw. "Please don't do this." "You'll die. Briggs will kill you. Don't throw your life away for me." Rowan looked at her, not with softness, but with certainty. "This isn't about you," he said quietly. "It's about a child, and about a man who thinks he owns everything he touches." Briggs snorted. "Touching's not the issue. Owning is." Clara turned to Briggs, fury igniting beneath her fear. "He's my baby." "You can't just take him." Briggs waved her off. "Debt is debt." "No," Rowan growled, stepping forward. "This is theft." Men raised their guns. Clara gasped. Rowan stood calm as stone. Briggs opened his mouth to give the order. But Rowan moved first. He didn't reach for his rifle. He grabbed the axe from his saddle, swinging it in a wide arc that knocked the nearest cowboy flat on his back before he could fire. Chaos erupted. Horses screamed. Men shouted. Gunfire cracked across the yard. Rowan moved through it like a storm-given flesh, disarming one man, knocking another into the dirt, using his sheer strength and rage to scatter the ranch hands like hay in the wind. Clara dove behind a trough, shielding her head as bullets pinged off wood. She screamed when Briggs grabbed Samuel's blanket and dragged the baby toward the door. Rowan saw. He roared, a sound no human should have been able to make, and sprinted for the porch, bullets grazing his coat. wood splintering behind him. Briggs shoved open the door, pulling the baby inside. Rowan leapt onto the steps. Clara screamed behind him. The ranch hands reloaded. The door slammed shut, and Rowan Pike, bruised, bleeding, furious, kicked it in with the force of a bear. He was going to get the baby back. Or die trying.